Have you ever been betrayed by someone you loved? What would you do if the person you trusted the most shattered your heart and then begged for forgiveness? This riveting story delves into a shocking tale of infidelity, heartbreak, and an unexpected twist that will leave you stunned. Stay tuned because the ending is so heartbreaking that you don't want to miss it. My wife came back to me, pleading for help. I'm 30 years old, and my wife is 27. We have been married for 4 years now. We married relatively young, but it felt suitable for us then. We dated for about a year and a few months before getting married, and it felt like we were meant to be together. However, recent events have made me reconsider that belief. I have a steady job and run a profitable jewelry business with my brothers. We created it from scratch, and it has been an enormous success. Working with family can be difficult, but it has been a dream for us. Contrary to popular belief, we have always gotten along well. On the other hand, my wife established a charming cafe where people could enjoy pastries, coffee, and books. She's always been passionate about books, and her love of reading has become a part of her personality. Although I wasn't a fan of people who revealed their entire identity before I met them, I couldn't help but admire her. I even helped her pay the rent for the cafe, which is located in an expensive upscale neighborhood. Thankfully, the business became profitable, which pleased me. This is where the actual story begins. Around March, my wife told me about a new man visiting the cafe. She described him as very handsome. I am generally secure, and we frequently discuss people's attractiveness objectively. However, there was something unusual about how she spoke about this guy. She described him as the type of masculine hero she enjoys reading about in romance novels. She enjoys those types of books, which I never understood because they appear cheesy. She kept mentioning this guy, which made me uneasy. She described him in a way that reminded me of characters from her favorite books. That day she mentioned he had returned, and they had a long conversation. He was a Serbian former car dealer who came to the United States for a better life. It took him some time to settle in and find his feet. He was looking for work at nearby dealerships, which is his area of expertise. Within about 10 minutes, I realized he was tall, blonde, handsome, well-dressed, and spoke with an accent. Apparently, he enjoyed books set in the Wild West and fantasy, such as The Lord of the Rings. My wife frequently tells me about her cafe's customers, so this wasn't surprising. Still, her descriptions of him were overly flowery, almost as if she was fetishizing him. She eventually stopped talking about him at length, which was a relief, though he continued to frequent the cafe. While bringing her lunch one afternoon, I noticed a man in the corner who matched her description exactly. His name was Ivan. Things began to get a little crazy when she returned home one night with a goofy smile, saying Ivan had walked her home and they had talked a lot about books. She mentioned he had asked her out on a date, but she told him she was married. He apologized, held her hand tenderly, said goodnight, and then left. Her romanticized account of the interaction annoyed me. A week later, she returned home with a bouquet of flowers from Ivan, who explained that he had purchased a bunch for a coworker's birthday and thought it would be nice to get some for her because he saw how hard she worked. I asked her if she knew Ivan liked her, and she admitted it was apparent, especially after he asked her out. Still, she insisted the flowers were just a friendly gesture. This baffled me because it appeared that he was still trying to win her over. My concerns were validated when 2 days later, she arrived home nearly 2 hours late without informing me. It wasn't the first time she arrived home late, so I called her twice, which went unanswered. Before I could make a third call, she came home distinctly bubbly, saying, "You won't believe the evening I had." She then launched a story about showing Ivan where the museum was, getting American pizza because he'd never had it before, and walking around talking and eating. I let her finish before asking, "Are you attracted to Ivan?" She acted surprised and offended, insisting she wasn't and simply assisting someone new to the country. I wasn't convinced, so I advised her to stop seeing Ivan. This resulted in a big fight. She accused me of being insecure and claimed there was nothing between them. I stood firm, saying it was okay if he came to the cafe as a customer but nothing else. I asked her to imagine how she would feel if I did the same thing to another woman. She said she would understand, but we all know that's a lie. That night, I slept on the sofa. After that, I stopped hearing about Ivan, which helped my mental health. She was coming home at the same time every night. However, I became suspicious when I unexpectedly visited her cafe one afternoon, and she was not there. Neither was Ivan, which was not unusual in and of itself. It was uncommon for her to go missing. I decided not to make a big deal and returned to my car. As I got in, I noticed her and Ivan walking up the street, arms interlocked. It took all of my strength not to confront them right there. I stayed in the car and watched them enter the cafe before driving away. That happened yesterday, and I've been struggling to process it. When she got home, I asked how her day went. She described an ordinary day without mentioning Ivan, so here I am, asking for advice. Should I confront her directly, or should I try to learn more before taking any action? I'm leaning toward the latter because I suspect there's more going on behind my back. Confronting her may result in losing all hope of discovering the truth. Let me know what you all think. Your wife's coffee shop sounds delightful, a haven for bookworms and caffeine addicts alike. Then there's Ivan, the Serbian heartthrob straight out of a romance novel. Tall and handsome, with a thicker accent than a Russian novel. Who isn't intrigued by this real-life character? Your wife's enthusiastic descriptions of Ivan were nearly romantic. I understand that we all have literary crushes, but seeing her swoon over Ivan as if he were Fabio on the cover of a bodice ripper would make anyone's blood boil, especially when she starts comparing him to her smutty book heroes. Ivan's endearing advances and just a friendly gesture bouquet of flowers? Right, because nothing says platonic friendship like romantic flowers from a man who has been rejected. I'm sure Ivan's next friendly gesture will include a candlelight dinner in a horse-drawn carriage. Ivan's late-night walks, shared pizza, and giggly museum visits sound like scenes from a rom-com date montage. Your wife's reaction, sparkling eyes and all, most likely did not alleviate your concerns. Her insistence that there's nothing to worry about reminds me of horror movie scenes where the clueless character says, "It's just the wind," just before being attacked. It took some time to muster the courage, but I eventually decided to find the truth, no matter the cost. I've never been the type of person who smiles at the prospect of checking your partner's phone, but in this case, I knew I had to put my moral reservations aside and do it. So I did it the first chance I had while she was sleeping. Unsurprisingly, she had Ivan in her messaging app, and they communicated frequently. It was WhatsApp, so I could easily export the entire conversation to a text file and send it to my phone from hers. Of course, I deleted all of the evidence. I looked through her gallery and found a few photos of them smiling together in public, but nothing incriminating. I also sent those to my phone and the evidence was deleted. That took me about 5 minutes, and I returned her phone to its proper location. After that, I did all of the reading on my phone, which was much less suspicious in case she woke up unexpectedly. And boy, did I see things that left my head spinning. Here is a transcript of one part of the conversation that you may find as shocking as I did. Clarice says, "In a way, the main characters remind me of us." Ivan replied, "Yes, that's what I thought too. The big mysterious hunk and the artsy girl who was torn between him and her boyfriend." Claire, "And there are a lot of steamy sex scenes. That part especially reminds me of us." Ivan, "I agree. The sex is always good. But in your case, it's a husband." "Yes, and I think that's what makes it even more exciting and fun. It feels so wrong. I've never cheated before, but I can't say I properly regret it." Ivan replied, "It is wrong, but that's what makes it so hot." Clarice said, "Yep, and I never want this to end." It drove me insane. It was 2 a.m., and I left the house for a walk because I couldn't follow her then. I was almost sure I would have done something crazy. I walked around town aimlessly for 5 hours, but when I returned, it was only 3:10 a.m. She was still sleeping too. Do you know what it's like to discover you're being cheated on, only to find out your wife is mocking you by enjoying doing everything behind your back? She was essentially reveling in my ignorance of the situation, and that was what pushed me over the edge. Not that cheating would be forgiven anyway. When I returned, she was still sleeping, so I grabbed her phone, skipped to that part of her conversation with Ivan, and recorded it on her phone. I needed to clarify that there was no doctoring going on here. Clarice clearly felt like she was living out one of her stupid books, but it was abhorrent that I had to play the victim in all of this. She has no idea. I'm aware of this, but divorce is in the works. There's really no other way for this to happen. I also want to see her go down. I also need to see Ivan go down. I'm unsure how to do it, but I need both to hurt them. Your strategy of gathering credible evidence before confronting her was spot on. It protects you and ensures that the truth is revealed unequivocally. Divorce is undoubtedly the best option here. Clarice's actions and delight in the deception demonstrate a profound lack of respect and loyalty. She may believe she is the heroine in some dramatic saga, but real life has consequences. Ivan, the so-called charming interloper, is also at fault. He knew she was married but pursued her, complicating the betrayal. He's about to discover that his actions have consequences, especially when interfering in someone else's marriage. As you progress, ensure you have legal representation to help you navigate the divorce process. Having your documentation and evidence ready will make the process go more smoothly and protect your interests. During this difficult time, seeking support from close friends or family members may also be beneficial. Dealing with betrayal is extremely painful, and having a support system can make a significant difference. Remember, you are not alone in this. Many people can empathize with your situation and provide advice and support. You're making the right decisions to reclaim your life and move toward a healthier, more honest future. Stay strong and believe that better days are ahead. This concludes the story of Serbian man Ivan and his book-loving, treacherous, cheating wife Clarice. Throughout the entire process, they had no idea how much more concerned they should have been about me. Allow me to skip through the boring parts of the story. Clarice went to work one day, and I parked across the street in an Uber. I watched as the process server walked into the cafe, handed her the divorce papers in a very public and pleasant manner, and then we drove away. I went to work, had a great day, and by the end there hadn't been a single message or missed call from Clarice, which pleased me. I think she knew she'd been duped, and begging wouldn't get her anywhere. That night she came back crying rivers, but it wasn't coming out of her nose. She looked like a complete wreck. To be honest, seeing her like that made me feel sad. Blame it on the fragments of love that remained, but they did not last long. She kept wondering what she had done wrong. Was it Ivan? I realized she had no idea how much I knew, and she had probably tried to figure it out. She couldn't figure out what I knew if she had leaks in her previous operations. I couldn't decide whether telling her I knew about Ivan was better, so I made a promise. I told her that I had seen her and Ivan walking arm in arm that day, and had kept it a secret, but I didn't reveal anything else. At that point, she became emboldened and began begging and calling me stupid. She said there was no reason to divorce her over that. Yes, she was wrong to continue seeing him, but nothing was happening between them, and I was insecure. I was jealous. She didn't know whether to grovel or insult me. Finally, I told her to leave my house, which she did. Move on to the actual divorce phase. That part was a lot of fun for me. I have a lot more money than she does, which means there's a lot more to lose in a divorce and a lot more to spend on good lawyers, which I made sure to do. When you get divorced, hire a good lawyer. I promise you that it is worthwhile, because not only did I have numerous photos of the two of them after I expressed my concerns, but I also had text messages that clearly demonstrated the infidelity. Furthermore, my rockstar lawyer was able to highlight transactions in our case, a joint account that appears to have been spent on Ivan. He matched the dates on some transactions to those in the entire text message transcript where he thanked her for specific things, and it became clear that she was spending our money on her Serbian lover boy. The lawyer also did an excellent job of portraying her as a gold digger, which I enjoyed watching. She gave it her all, but nothing stood out to me. I am not a perfect guy, but I definitely don't have any divorce-worthy flaws. By the time the divorce was over, I really had everything that I needed. I kept my house, I kept my car, and because of that pretty notable infidelity and the fact that I had set her up with a money-making venture, there was no alimony requested of me. Love you, Judge, she did get to keep the car that I bought for her. I didn't feel I needed to stress myself about that, and it made it easier to take what I took when she didn't leave the divorce entirely empty-handed. Now this is my favorite part. It was hard for me to get back at Ian. It was very hard. But one day, he was walking out of the cafe and I followed him down the road, and around the corner, I called his attention and introduced myself and slugged him square in the jaw. It hurt like crazy, but I busted his lip and knocked him to the ground with it, and he looked very shocked. I wasn't looking for a street fight but would have taken one if it came. He realized he had no moral high ground because he stood up and left after that. It felt good. I wish I could have done more because he knew he was messing with a married woman, but that was enough for me and probably all I could have realistically gotten without a felony charge. And then Clarice, that rent that I was paying for her, it was due again, and because she had her cafe in such a nice part of town, it was expensive. It was usually due on May 1st, but it was only towards the end of May that she came to me crying on the phone, saying that she needed to pay the rent for the cafe badly, and she didn't have the money for it. She begged and begged and begged, but I told her to sell the car to get the funds for it before I hung up the phone. She called several times throughout that week, but I didn't pick up the phone spoiler. I found out she sold the car when she called me to start cursing me out. She said it was evil that I couldn't help her at the very lowest. I told her it was evil to think that it was fun and exciting to cheat on me. She couldn't say anything to that. I'm waiting for May next year to see how she struggles with rent. If the gods of their way, she'll lose the cafe too, especially without access to my bookkeeper any longer. It's been sweet, honestly. I'm newly single with a lot of money and a lot of satisfaction. I won't say that the divorce, betrayal, and infidelity didn't hurt like hell because it did, but you can only move forward, right? That's what I'm going to do. Thanks to you all for sticking around and for your encouragement and advice. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I'll never have to write a post again. Clarice coming home crying and snotting everywhere is priceless. I can almost see her alternating between groveling and calling you stupid. She thought she could turn the arm-in-arm story into some innocent, friendly stroll like, "Oh no, honey, he's just my walking buddy," right? Because that is completely normal. And you handled the divorce expertly, bringing in a rock star lawyer and nailing her with evidence, as well as those transactions aligning with her little love messages, which is courtroom gold. Watching her get painted as a gold digger must have been pure pleasure. Keeping the house and car while avoiding alimony? That is the jackpot. Is Clarice selling her car to pay rent? That's simply poetic justice. Is she calling you evil? Hilarious. She had no legs to stand on. Here's hoping she loses the cafe next year too. Karma is a relentless companion, so here you are, newly single, flush with cash, and a satisfying victory under your belt. It must have been excruciatingly painful, but you emerged victorious. Congratulations, and thank you for sharing this epic tale. What are your thoughts on the OP's revenge? Thank you for joining us today. Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. In conclusion, this story of betrayal, cunning strategy, and ultimate triumph is a powerful reminder that justice can prevail. While the journey was undoubtedly difficult, our protagonist's perseverance and clever maneuvers resulted in a satisfying victory. So, if you ever find yourself in a similar situation, remember that karma can be a constant companion. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing stories like this. I want to reach 1,000 subscribers, but I need to start with 100, so please help me reach that goal by clicking the subscribe button. See you next time.